Hi everybody, welcome to Modern Moves Dance. I'm CoCo Loop. I wanted to do a series of basic stretches for everyone to help support your dancing practice. Of course, there are flexibility experts all over the internet and in brick and mortar spaces that you can access and hire or watch on various YouTube channels to increase your flexibility in very specific ways. But I wanted to offer just a few here that you can always refer to that will just start to open up some of the larger joints of the body and the larger muscle bellies. So today we will look at opening up the hip flexors, the torso flexors, which is the iliopsoas, the quadriceps mainly. And a lot of this stuff will look like a general athletic stretch, but you can start to apply what you're learning in the skills session videos and in the improvisational exploration videos to kind of contextualize what you're doing in these stretches and how they can help you deepen those other practices and investigations that you do. Okay, so the first big hip extension stretch is to just go into a front lunge, and I use a support like a chair or my sofa at first. And the alignment principles here is that the front knee should stay over the front ankle and that the pubic bone should go forward as the back knee rises up. These are tiny incremental changes unless you're just really, really flexible already. I am not. I have never been a flexible person. I've always had to work around flexibility challenges. So I tend to work fairly slow in these positions. The back heel is up, and we want to feel like the spine is floating up and away. And if you can go a little bit deeper, you can even put a hand on the ground and one hand on the front thigh. And you just take a deep breath. Make sure that you're staying connected to your breath and letting that help you relax into what can be some discomfort. The other option is to drop the back knee and then use your front thigh as a support while gently coaxing the pubic bone forward. And letting the front of the hip open up like a big mouth in a yawn. Okay. And you'll do that on both sides. So we can switch here. We can start here on the less extreme stretch. Checking those alignment principles again, squared shoulders, squared hips, front knee over the front ankle, tailbone and pubic bone sliding forward, right? I've got my head cocked back a little bit, probably because I'm talking, but you really want to drop the chin slightly and let the occipital bone here elevate just a hair, right? So we don't get any clenching in the back of the neck. And then if you're ready, you can bring that up to that more extreme stretch. If you feel strong, you can take the hands off of your support here. And then even if you're feeling even a little bit more nimble and supple, you can bring the arms up above the head. Okay. So that's just a kind of a standard runner's lunge that you would get in a aerobics class or even the yoga asana postures. But you can put that into context as you start to go into one-legged actions in dance and you're lifting the leg to the back, right? So you're really opening up the leg's ability, you're increasing the leg's ability to float higher into the back space as you stretch those muscles that cross the hip joint. Okay. The other hip flexor stretch that I really love, and you can do this in various different positions, is just the standing quadricep stretch. If you are, if you're not quite balanced on one leg yet, you can hold on to something. But what you're doing is standing in parallel and raising the foot up to the buttock, okay? And you can reach around the outside of the foot, or you can actually reach inside, depending on your shoulder flexibility. And you want the knee to be moving down and in toward the other knee. So I'll show you from the front on the other side. Of course, you want to be careful when you're going into hyperflexion of the knee. So if this feels uncomfortable for you, I wouldn't do it, first of all. And I can show you a modification for that. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to bring the heel to the side of my hip, and I'm letting the knee gently relax down toward my midline. And I can use my bicep to actually pull the heel closer to my hip and increase the stretch on the actual quadricep muscle. This isn't actually doing anything for the hip flexor. It's actually putting tension on the muscle body here. So you can do that on either side, both sides, hopefully, to keep everything balanced. That's another thing. You might find that you'll go to stretch one side, feels great, it's awesome. You go to stretch the other side, oh, a limitation, a catch, a tightness. That is totally natural. The two sides of my body, for all the years that I've danced and tried to create balance on both sides of my body, I have injuries. I have other things that have created some imbalances in my body, left to right. So I have to kind of work around those. Okay, if you are sensitive to deep knee flexion like this, you can just go down into that runner's lunge, and you can create a little bit of a bridge, right? And you can use something soft. You can let that be a cushion for increasing the knee flexion, but not so extreme, using obviously a support here, right? And I can just let my shin sink into the cushion and my foot raises up, and I start to feel a nice stretch across the quadricep. The other more extreme versions of this, and I wouldn't try these unless you are really flexible and you're really in tune with how you are able to manipulate your joints safely. But you can get on the floor and then gently internally rotate one leg and pull the knee back so that the heel is next to the hip. And then you can start to slowly lean back here, right? Using the hands behind you as a support. And you'll start to feel that lengthening across the front of the thigh. And as you get a little more and more and more limber, you can start to go back and back and back. Sometimes it also feels really good to twist the body toward the back arm and stretch up and over and let the front knee fall into the floor while you're raising the hip. That really opens up the hip joint in the front and puts a nice stretch on the quadricep. It also feels good just to open the armpit and the torso and let the belly stretch. And then, of course, you would do the other side. Again, being very careful with the knee joint here. If anything ever feels remotely painful, stop. You should feel sensation in the quadricep and in the hip as a lengthening sensation, and not any pain or sensation in the actual knee joint. Again, you can do a twist. Okay. And then this is the one that gives me the most trouble because I've never had back extension comfortably, is the Cobra posture from yoga. So this is really looking to lengthen the front of the torso, actually, deep inside the torso where the iliopsoas connects up on the spinal column. So you just lay on your belly and put your elbows underneath your armpits, and then anchor the pubic bone into the floor. And I like to press all 10 toes into the floor too, so it activates my quads just a little bit. And you pull the belly button up to the spine and you start to peel the upper body up off the floor. And then once I'm here, I kind of press into the floor with my forearms and my hands, and I pull forward just a little bit to try to get my head and my shoulders lengthened and out of the spine. And I just try to find my breath here. If this is really easy for you, you can move the hands back under the armpits. Oh, there's my dog. And push up. Okay. Hold on one second. So anyway, those are great hip flexor, quadricep, lengtheners, stretches. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll come back for looking at hamstrings, the outer hip, opening up some of those external rotators, and then some of the shoulder, chest, torso lengtheners. Okay, thank you. Please like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel out, and we'll see you in the next video.